Chapter 5. What's the structure for an impactful talk? Success comes from persistently improving and inventing, not from persistently promoting what's not working. Derek Sivers. It's time we dive into some of the nitty-gritty of public speaking. First, let me say there are many ways you can structure a talk. You may discover a structure that works for your personality. But I want to share what works for me. It's a 5-part structure that allows me to organize my entire talk in a way that captivates the audience. Here it is. Attention getter, introduction, body, summary, dismount. When I structure my talks, I start with the end in mind, the dismount. You may be thinking, Tim, why are you starting with the end? Let me give you an analogy. Have you ever seen a gymnast run onto the mat, jump in the air, spin around, and then fall? You think to yourself, what a bummer. They totally failed. Well, no, they didn't totally fail. They failed on the dismount. I begin with my dismount. Where do I want to leave the audience? When I start there, I can work backwards and properly build my talk. Remember, this is a journey. We're leading our audience to a destination. How can we start developing a talk if we don't know where we're leading the audience? Start with your dismount, and the audience will thank you for helping them arrive safely at their destination. I'll give you an example from my TEDx talk titled, Are You a Good Neighbor? This was my dismount. May where you live be better because of you, because good neighbors make great neighborhoods, and it starts with me and you. That's it. That was my dismount. I led the audience to the idea worth sharing, that they can become the good neighbor who makes their neighborhood a better place to live. Now let's back up one step to the summary. This was my summary from my TEDx talk. Where do you live? Are you a good neighbor? It does not have to be complicated, but we do have to be intentional. Connect with others in your neighborhood. Invite them to something. Celebrate them. Stay aware. And be available. In this section, I summarize all my key points and make it personal to the audience. While the dismount is the big idea, the summary is the application of that idea. Another step back takes us to the third section of your talk, the body. This part contains the stories, points, and questions that teach your audience. In essence, it's where all the meat goes. I prefer to tell stories from a personal perspective instead of just sharing analogies or illustrations I read elsewhere. What am I going through? What can I share with my audience to help them feel what I went through to learn this lesson? Moving back again, let's now address the introduction of your talk. This is when you begin to share why your idea is important. Why should I listen to you? What makes your idea so important? For me, the introduction is a place to build a bit of conflict and intrigue in the audience's mind. Let me share the introduction of my TEDx talk. My friends consist of Haitian villagers who taught me their native language of Haitian Creole. One of their cultural norms is when you see someone, you say, hello, bonjour. To ignore them is an insult. They showed me the strength of togetherness as villagers would gather at the shoreline like good neighbors to help pull in the fishing nets. It took many hands and the strength of togetherness to survive. Years after returning to the U.S., I began to forget the importance of community I experienced while living in a third world country. Now let's talk about the very first part of your speech, the attention getter. Imagine that you just walked onto the stage and that the audience is sitting in front of you. They're wondering, who is this person? Maybe they know your name, or maybe they've heard of you before. But they're still asking, should I listen to them? So we want to grab their attention. Here's my attention getter from my TEDx talk. I began by speaking in Haitian Creole. Bonjour tout le monde. Bien content nous ensemble. Hello everyone. I am happy we are together. Repeat after me, ensemble. One more time, ensemble. Ensemble means together in Haitian Creole. At the age of 11, my parents, who were missionaries, moved our family to Haiti. We lived down a dirt road on the ocean and camped out in tents for 3 months before building a home. I grabbed their attention. Here's a white Italian guy, but he's speaking Haitian Creole? What? Who is this? And then I introduce you to a word in Haitian Creole that is, in essence, the reason I want you to pay attention. Ensemble, which means together. That's unique. That's an attention getter. Pique the curiosity of your audience. Start with something that makes them say, I want to hear the rest of this talk. Attention is critical. And you have about 30 seconds to get it. Let's quickly review the structure. Attention getter. Introduction. Body. Summary. Dismount. First, think about how you'll grab your audience's attention. Next, how are you going to introduce your idea? Then, what is the body of your talk? You need to deliver content that gives your audience the tools and resources they need to apply your idea. After this, summarize it for them. Make it memorable. And finally, you need to land your dismount with certainty and confidence. It's not complicated, but we do have to be intentional. Cheers to you and the structure of your talk. I believe you can do this.